Basically the first thing is that we're going to connect our, we don't need those. Those keep popping up. Don't need those. We can attach our female headers to this, like that. So these are what we will then plug into the Raspberry Pi like so. So we just need to solder this to it, which is not too bad. So I'm going to put it on the second one so we have just a little bit of overlap. And then this can be the one little bit tricky. Basically we're going to just tack this in with a little bit of solder. There we go. Just to hold it in place. Then we can look, and so yeah, that's what happens, is like it always is a little off. So we'll just bend that back to get it straight. Straight-ish. Yeah, that's fine. Like that. Then it will hold like that, and we will just solder a couple more onto it, a couple more of the points. Solder. All right, so while we were taking a short break, I finished the soldering the header onto the board. So we don't actually need all of the points here, but just to make sure that it's nice and mechanically connected, it's good to have all those soldered. So next we'll install some of the resistors. So what we'll do is on the front here, what we'll do is making sure that we have the right orientation, because we're going to plug it in upside down like this. So we'll have to read the pins going the opposite way. So the very first port that we'll use is not the first one, but the second one. So I'll bend the leads and put them in here, like that. And just bend the leads on the back to hold it. And then I'll put in, we'll be using the first three, or first it'll be pin 2, 3, and 4, the first three inputs. So we'll do all of those at the same time. We'll put in the second one and bend the leads, and I need one more. And resistors are bidirectional, so it doesn't matter which way you put them in, but I like to have them all lined up with the same color code going the same way, because otherwise it looks kind of messy. But there we go. First three in. Now we just solder those on both sides. So we'll do one. Just tack it in. On one side. So again, they'll probably bounce up a little bit. Those look pretty good. Yeah, so then we'll solder the other sides. One, two, three. Go back and put a little bit more on this side. Okay, nice. Now that we have them in, we can clip the leads, so we don't have these all over over the place. Those things will go everywhere. All right, so then on the back here, we actually need to connect the terminal of the resistor to the pin on the back of the header. So what we'll do is we'll just create a solder bridge between those. There we go. Let that cool. And do it with the other two. Second one, then the third one. There we go. So now those resistors are connected to the board, to the header. Then the last thing that we need to do is just connect the wires coming off the controller, connect those to the other side of the resistor. So following the same procedure, first twist it up, get it nice and solid. And then we'll tin it. Once that's tinned, we can then push it through the board, assuming that I had tinned it correctly without being all junky. This is the one disadvantage of using stranded wire, is it can be a little bit messier. But I do like them because it's more flexible than solid core. So then you don't have to worry about like the thing being too rigid once you're done. But there's always positives and negatives. Yes, I went there. All right, let's see if we did a little bit better job. Yeah, there we go. So that then goes through. Put it all the way through. And tack it in. A little messy, but then we will take the end of the wire, just bend it over a little bit, to the terminal of the resistor that we're connecting it to. Get it down there, all right, and then we'll throw a little bit of solder on it to complete the circuit and the connection. And we are good to go. All right, so now we can test our handiwork. So this is the live side. So when we plug it in, this is connected to the back. So then when we ground this, we should get a light. That way we know that we've done it all correctly. There's a solid connection between the actual button terminal all the way through here to this terminal, which then when we attach it to the Raspberry Pi, connect it to that terminal, which then we can then control that pin with the Raspberry Pi, which then will either will complete or will complete the circuit, so that it will allow us to push that button. And so then the rest of the controller is just repeating that same exact process for each one of the buttons on it, testing each one of them separately to make sure that you have a good connection. And then to finish things up, you can add hot glue to glue these wires down to keep them a little bit more stable, because as I just literally did, this thing is now coming off and pulling some of the board with it, which is what you don't want to do. So go back and fix that. But anyway, that's the general gist of how you do that.